your thoughts on criminal justice reform? What would that look like to you? And and what is it that you could propose or would support if you're sent to DC?
Criminal justice reform is one of my biggest issues. It's healthcare, climate crisis, and criminal justice reform are our top three, but my background is in criminal justice. So it's the area that I have the most up close and personal relationship with. And the first thing that needs to happen is, again, we need to take the profit motive out. There can never be a profit motive to incarcerate people. There can also not be a profit motive in policing people. Right. We currently have a profit motive in both of those areas. Mm-hmm. That's a problem. We also need to end qualified immunity. We need to take settlements out of police pensions instead of taxpayer dollars. And I support the Campaign Zero reforms. Are you familiar with the Campaign Zero?
Tell us what it is. Tell us what it is.
Yeah, you know what? And I wish I could remember them off the top of my head. I want to say there's 8 or 10 categories that ranging from demilitarization, civilian oversight boards, ending qualified immunity. Like, there's a whole bunch of different aspects of this. And I support all of those things. And my only problem with the defund the police is I knew it was just going to scare too many people off.
Right, the word.
And unnecessarily. So what I always say is to people who I think might tend to be more scared by that, I sort of have to take them by the hand. You have to kind of stroke them. You know, it's okay. We're still going to have law enforcement. Nobody's going to come hunt you down and kill you in your house in the middle of the night. It's okay. So it's really a matter of, one, we need to demilitarize the police.
Absolutely.
So, yes, we do need law enforcement, but I want to see law enforcement increased on the back end. Meaning, do you know how many untested rape kits, unsolved cases? There are certain crimes that we have less than a 20% close rate on. Why are those not being investigated? When you have an actual homicide, yeah, I'd like law enforcement to investigate that. I would. I think that's the purpose of law enforcement. Not patrolling our streets and patrolling our existence. So I feel like we need to understand there are functions for law enforcement, not to be called to every little domestic dispute, not to be called for a mental illness, not to be called to the homeless people or drug addicts. Or we don't need them patrolling and policing us. We need them investigating crimes and solving them. So I don't like the framing of defund, right, but it needs to be significantly reduced, demilitarized, and they need to end qualified immunity so that they are liable for when they have infractions. Oh, and I also support having a nationwide database of officers that have been found in violation. And what happens is most of these things are state level things. Like, most policing is handled at the state level. It's a municipal thing. So in a federal seat, it's not something where you can come in and dictate how it's done. But what you can do is you can dangle federal funding when people are not working according to complying with your set standards. So, for example, if you're local law enforcement and you're going to hire somebody that's on this registry, you are no longer going to be getting federal funding. That's how you control it from a federal standpoint, with money. Essentially, that's how you do it. But there needs to be federal guidelines. I think we need to have a federal audit, essentially, of healthcare too, but certainly of all of our policing. But this is beyond just bias training. Right. Like, we're so past that. This needs to be a massive thing. And so really the federal government's job in that is strongly suggesting, and by strongly suggesting, I mean dangling money, saying this will happen or there will be no more money. And I think that's really where our control is on that level.
Yeah,